Williams, who has responsibility for strategic planning and academic partnerships. He is in Antigua. He's a principal of the Five Islands campus. He is wrapping up another important meeting, and I'm expecting that he'll join very shortly, Chair. Thank you.
Chairman, I have a difficulty, you know. My difficulty is that in as much as the bursar is here, there are matters such as these, in as much as we have technology and we have the facility to have virtual meetings, I would prefer, and which is why I am here too, and my colleague, Member Hamilton, to be able to eyeball in terms of asking questions. And and that's the reason why I have resorted not to do a virtual meeting, because we get more out of it. I understand Dr. Smith's position, as well as Professor Williams. But, you know, Chairman, I am not happy, and I am a little constrained to participate in the discussions as currently exists. I mean, I know, and I mean with the greatest of understanding, that the registrar is off the island and PVC is also off the island. We could have been notified and we set a date for such. You know, I place great reliance on this letter that came on May 30th. And in as much as it says that it didn't say physically, but the PVC Planning University Bursar and I will avail ourselves to appear before the Human Resource and Social Development Committee to discuss these matters and other matters the committee may deem fit. I had placed great reliance on this particular missive. And the truth is that we can get more out of a questioning that is basically right across the divide right there than having this virtual thing. I know, Registrar, you may feel comfortable with what is happening, but I feel very uncomfortable. And Chairman,
Chair, would it be permissible for me to respond to Member Morris?
Sure.
Yes, we feel similarly, Member Morris. We are not particularly comfortable. It is our preference to be face-to-face. We actually also believe that a face-to-face engagement would be far more beneficial to the process. That is our feeling as well. But again, given we just could not avoid participating in today's meeting, given its importance. If it is that the committee is amenable to identifying another date, then we'll do our very best to make ourselves available. But it is our preference to be face-to-face as well, sir.
Member Hamilton.
Thanks, Chair. So I am endorsing Member Guy's statement just now, because I came here well prepared, hoping that I would have had
Dr.
Morris Smith, my apologies, before me.
No, Morris Smith is his name.
We started a conversation, a discussion in the last meeting, and the goodly duck would have been seized with quite a bit of that discussion, which would mean that, you know, being here face-to-face today would have been a little easier to backtrack, go back to some of these questions. We could, you know, piggyback on them and organically have a discussion. I think I understand totally, you know, the issue we have now physically with meeting, but if that information were communicated to the House, we could have had alternative plans placed rather than us coming here today to be learning about it now for the first time. Because the report of the university is very detailed. It is difficult, personally, for me to do proper review via virtual sitting. I think things of this nature require us to be eyeballing and require us to have documentation in front of us. The report of the university is how many hundreds of pages? You know,
But member, and I want to concur wholeheartedly with both of you, because it is, well, the first letter, a letter was written from January 28, 2022. That is almost 6 months ago. So it's not like we are just hijacking the situation. Enough time would have been given, and we were told that a special meeting would be held on March 4th, 2022, and anytime after that, then the university would be at ease to meet with us on a date. Today is the 29th of June. How many months after? Not only that, this is a report from the university. There's no way we can get through this in time. And so, if the persons were here face to face, as you go along, the question could be asked, and you get the answers right away. But at the same time, we also want to make persons aware that you are invited to come to a committee meeting that has the responsibility to assess and to review the happenings that you may fall under that ministry. It is not just by the way that we are asking you to come here. You have a responsibility to the citizens and to the people of the country. And so when we ask you to come before us, it is not a joking matter. It's not a joke. And I hate to believe that person want to think that, we don't have to go down to 81 Duke Street because it is neither here nor there. It is here. It is here. And sorry, Doc, I'm not through. It is here. I want not just the university. I want others to make sure and to think and to understand that coming to a committee of parliament is where you're going to give the answers where we ask. And if it is that we don't want to go the other route, we are inviting you in a friendly manner to say, come to us, tell us something, because, hey, at the end of everything, the government of the day, taxpayers' money, must find its way into the university, whether by grant or by disbursement, as the case is. And so we want to know, the people of Jamaica want to know how them tax dollars are being spent. And so this whole feeling of, I don't have to be there, it's not settling with me. I am not digesting it well. And if it means that we will have to send a correspondent to those powers that be to say that we're not going to accept it, we're not going to continue to accept it. It can't be.
Chair, might I be permitted to respond?
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I certainly wish to disabuse us of that notion. There is certainly no intention on our part to slight this process. We completely understand the signal importance of this particular engagement, which is why we have availed ourselves. And we had indicated earlier, and I wish to reiterate, that it would have been our preference to be face-to-face. Chair, members, the letter that we got did speak to some questions, the majority of which were about the financial health of the university, which is why the university bursar is in person there. So I understand the members' concern about an organic conversation, but I reiterate for emphasis, it would have been our preference to be there, but given the regional nature of the university and our duties, we've been taking in all sorts of separate directions. There is absolutely no desire, no intention to disrespect the process, the Honourable House of Parliament. That is not among us, sir, members. And so I wish to state that we do not wish to diminish the process in any way. And if that is the sense, then it is really unfortunate, but it is not correct. And just to finally say, sir, members, that if it is that the committee wishes is minded to have a new date at which time all of us will be there in person, then we will move heaven and earth as best we can to make that happen. But there is no sense on our part to diminish or to disrespect the Houses of Parliament. Thank you.
Dr. Smith,
Sir?
you should also include the region in it as well, But I personally would prefer a new date, Chairman. I would personally prefer for us to have, without any disrespect to the fact that Mrs. McNish is here, I prefer to have the technocrats from the UE, the officers here in person to have that meeting.
I concur, Chair.
At this time, the majority of the committee is of the view that we need to set the last date. We're not going beyond that date. We are very sorry, Madam, that you would have traveled here, but it is no fault of us why you would be here and not being able to make your presentation. But then we will now discuss the matter of a new date when all persons who are or who was invited to be here to present to us on the topic will make sure that they are here face to face to make that presentation. All right? So it is unfortunate, Madam. We are very sorry for that. But at this time, we will excuse you from this meeting so that you can make your way. All right? Thanks for coming.
Mrs. McNish, I don't want you to get the view that we do not in any way are seized with your ability to address the questions. If you were here on the first occasion and was part of the discussions that we have, then possibly we could have had that meeting. But as Member Hamilton said, in terms of the discussion that Dr. Smith had with us, and he being seized of all the thing in a granular way, right? His presence here is highly desirable. So I don't want that view to be felt, to be obtained, to be carried from this particular chamber.
Madam McNish would not be in a position to answer many of the questions because she would have to. So we hope that the next time around she will hear. But whilst that is being said, I also think that if it is the view of the membership that we invite not only the members from UE at the next meeting, but also those from Mona campus itself, which is the principal and the bursar. You don't think so?
I don't think so. It is a governance committee for the entire university. And the suggestion made by you now would fly in the face of the actual mentioning by Dr. Smith that there seemed to be a view that the UE is just Mona and that there are so many other campuses. So I don't think we need to have.
So be it.
Chair?
Sorry, Doc, we have just excused Madam McLeish, and so we are also excusing you until that date has been set. All right?
Thank you most, Chair.
You're most welcome.
Chair, colleagues, just to note that I joined the meeting, but I will leave. I got the tail end of the meeting. This is Denzel Williams from UWI. I got the tail end of the meeting.
Professor Williams?
Yes, speaking.
That they, as I don't know if you'll have heard us saying that we will look at a new date when all persons who are involved or who have been invited from get-go to be here. And so at this time, we are also excusing you until a date will be sent out to you for the next meeting.
Chairman, exit the meeting as well. Thank you.
Chair, exactly why the meeting could not continue, because we would not have been able to hear properly. Professor, it would have been a difficult meeting, very challenging one.
I agree.
Okay, we will now move to. Can we have the reading of the minutes? Let's have the reading of the minutes of the last meeting. So we take it that the minutes have been read. Are there any question as it relates to any other matter in that comes out of the minutes?
Before we get to that, Chairman, there are some corrections that we need to look at.
Okay.
There is a challenge on my part to understand on page 2, DCS overview, and I'm reading from about the 6th line or 7th line from the end of that paragraph. He said that the RCJC has a capacity of 100 for median remand boys with an accommodation capacity of 32. I don't understand what that means. I don't know if there's any clarity that can be had, because it suggests that it is something that he stated, but it looks a little clumsy here. And in the absence of knowing what that means, it is something that I have some concerns over, Chair.
Sorry, go again.
It's mentioned in the minutes that he said that the Rear Cobra Juvenile Correction Center has a capacity of 100 for median remand boys with an accommodation capacity of 32. Now, to me, I don't understand what median capacity for 100 for median remand boys means. I understand what an accommodation capacity of 32. And if you look further down in the minutes, it spoke about what Metcalf Correctional Center has a capacity for 196 with only 66 housed now. And he also mentioned the South Camp Road Juvenile Correction Center with a capacity of 144, but 39 currently accommodated.
So, Chair, based on what Member Guy is reading, my only explanation for this statement would be that the capacity may have been 100, but current they would have had maybe 32 boys currently being housed at the facility. I'm not sure if that is what was meant, but based on what was said after with the other centers, it would appear that that is what was being. So the capacity was 100, but they had 32 boys.
Only 32 in
right.
house now.
Right.
But I think what got Member Guy is the open and close. That word, what it stands for, but maybe it was just used on the day in question. Any other correct?
So moved, Chair.
Second.
Moved by Member Guy, seconded by Member Hamilton. Arising from the minutes, are there any questions further?
Chair, there was a matter that has not been resolved yet. The suggestion was made by Member Hamilton about members of the committee doing a tour of some of these juvenile facilities to educate ourselves, to also have a concurrence of what we have been told that we can see for ourselves as to what is happening. There was a challenge in terms of a date being determined for us to attend. And it was our view, my view, and I'm certainly shared by other members, that the Department of Correctional Services could have at least given us a couple of dates for members to determine when they would want to be there. There might be a little difference in terms of how I approach it than my colleague here in terms of the date that they set, because we have to understand that there are certain security issues concerned too. So I would rather that the department sends to the committee a list of dates that they could accommodate us, and then based on our own discussions determine which we are able to, when we are able to visit.
So I think the whole matter, as they would have said some time ago, is that because it is a security facility, we just cannot do a surprise visit, which we agree, say, okay, let's not, because we do understand what will happen on a day. But even so, Madam Clerk would have written to the permanent secretary, and we would have, this is the last letter. Please be reminded that the ministry had indicated that a visit by the Human Resource and Social Development Committee to the Juvenile Correctional Center in April 2022 had to be postponed due to unforeseen circumstances. The ministry had suggested that it would communicate a new date in May 2022 regarding this visit. Kindly provide an update. Regarding the matter, proposed date when a visit to the facility can be facilitated. Best regard. And this was sent to the permanent secretary. We still have not heard from the ministry on the matter. And so too, we need to remind them that they have an obligation. And we seek a response forthwith, because it cannot allow to continue the way that they're treating such matter as if it is a joke.
You know, Chairman, I am a little incensed. And it is because there seem to be, and not just only in relation to this particular matter, but when public officials are brought before parliamentary committees, they do not, one, consider it as important as they ought to consider it. Two, that they have an obligation. They're really summoned to the parliament to answer questions about the governance of their area, whether it is in finances, is in policy, or it is in actual management. The reality is that they really do not appreciate and understand the importance of it. And until the committee puts down its foot, whether this committee or other foot, and say that we will have no more of it, right? I have constantly spoken about the permanent secretary not coming to the meetings, as should be the case. There are a few instances that he has indicated that he was unable to attend. The truth is, Chairman, in terms of prioritization of where you are to attend as such, I don't think that is done. This is just like a PRPR committee, if I may, right, examining some issues that really have no relevance, quote unquote. It does have relevance. It does have relevance for our children who are incarcerated. It does have relevance for the future. It has relevance for us as parliamentarians needing to know what is happening in these institutions of government. And I think that the Parliament should write a strong letter to all permanent secretaries, right? And when they do not conform to us, if they come here and they send the technocrats and not being led by the chief accounting officer, who's a permanent secretary, we say no more. We will not sit until that particular individual comes. That's my position, and I think if we do not put a stop to it, Chairman, we'll be treated as children of a lesser God.
I am in agreement with you 100%, because it is not just this committee that they pay scant regards to when they are invited, and it is full time that a stopping be put to it. And if it means that we have to go to the next level, then we take it to the next level, because it cannot continue to happen. They are responsible for arms of the government, and the people of Jamaica deserve answers. They deserve to know. And we are here on their behalf to ask a question so that they can get answers. And we demand of them, and I am, as I said before, I am in agreement with you that a letter be written to the Speaker of the House to write to the necessary persons to make it known that, yes, we can invite a ministry and you just take up a group of people and just send here without leadership. We expect to see the permanent secretary or the CFO who is second to the permanent secretary, and too often we see where that is not happening. And so we must send them a strong reminder that they have a responsibility, just as how we have a responsibility.
And I'm going to piggyback on what you just said, to Chair, in relation to our responsibility, because I think as a parliament, we need to reassert our role of being the oversight body of the executive. And if this arm does not function properly, the executive will not function properly, and government will not work as it should. And we already have an issue with inefficiency in government. So we need this oversight for the checks and balances on the executive to ensure that the government works for the people as it should.
So coming out of this discussion, we're going to ask Madam Clerk that we need to write. We are not able to write directly to the ministry, but we'll.
I think,
Chairman, can I just put on record that I too agree with the members?
Go ahead, member.
I want to put on record, Chairman, that I too agree with my two colleagues there.
Chairman, I think.
Thank you.
I think we should have our clerk indicate, or have the clerk to the Parliament, House of the Parliament, have the Speaker write to the cabinet secretary who has oversight for the permanent secretaries, and advise him of this state of affairs, and secondly, to request of him that he sends such correspondence to his permanent secretaries to advise them that they need to appear before the committees.
Right now, Madam Clerk. So we'll definitely write to the Cabinet Secretary to hear our grouse, and also to make a recommendation that was just mentioned.
You have not moved on yet, but if I may, I'm preempting you. The second draft that is here, is it for discussions today, or will we afford some time to have a look at it before? Okay.
We could take the time, considering the fact that we will be sending a letter to them just the same. We could take the time for the next meeting to review to assess and to come back with questions. And at that time, we hope that they will be presented in front of us.
No, Chair, I am actually referring to the draft, because they wouldn't need to be before us for that. It is for our internal thing to determine whether.
So we still can take the time for the next meeting to review.
Yes, definitely. That's what I'm asking and
All
seeking.
right. Any other matters arising from the minutes? If there is no other matters arising from the minutes, can we go to new business?
Chair, we had new business, which is what we would have had today. However, if I am recalling properly, there was also some other matters which the committee had wanted to discuss in terms, or we were supposed to propose other matters, or were there anything else that had been referred to us that we have not done yet? That's in terms of next step. So if the next meeting is going to be with the university to settle that particular issue, who and what other entity and what other subject will we be dealing with after this?
Just to add to that, Chair, I believe the DCS should be responding to some questions as well that we had maybe from the last meeting, if I can recall. I think questions were asked in relation to correctional orders. There are a number of questions that were asked. I'm hoping I'm not confusing the committees because I sit on so many. But I believe on the last occasion, when the DCS was before us, or were they not? They were before us. Yeah, I think some questions were supposed to.
Well, there was one, if I do, and I can quote from the minutes. The chairman asked, we asked about, chairman said he understood it was not the task of the DCS to monitor wards who left a facility. He stated that the committee might create a questionnaire to ask the MNS or MOY to conduct a survey for the last 10 to 20 years and present the finding of such a solution after such a solution could be formulated, which is why, Chair, if the permanent secretary was here, we could have escalated that to his attention and he would have been in the meeting. There's also the concern that we had about whether the wards were getting the same standard of education, right, that was being given out there. Salaries for teacher, we were told that there was a MOU with the Ministry of Education and that they would be dealing with those issues. Those are issues that need to be addressed because they're untidy right now.
So are you saying that at the next meeting, whilst we are going to have the University of the West Indies personnel, we too should reinvite the persons from the correction?
Ministry of National Security with the DCS in attendance. Yes.
All right. So, Madam.
And possibly, Chair, we could also remind them of that particular letter about a new date for the tour of the facilities, and as to whether we may have that tour prior to the meeting or after, something like that.
We would ask that the date for the visit be set long before so we could visit and then come to the meeting. So, Madam Clerk is asking, being that she was not presented, she wasn't present at the last meeting. We are asking that you write to the permanent secretary to indicate to them that there are some questions within the minutes that we need to get answers to, and that they must be present before us to answer any other question that we have, along with those personnel from the Department of Correctional Services. So that is one letter.
And Chair, I believe
there are some questions, many questions in the minutes that you weren't present. So if you look through, you will see you can draw from the minutes the questions that are there to be answered, and then put it in the letter to the permanent secretary. So that is one letter, and that is to include the Department of Correctional Services. 2, the letter to, you have the letter to the Cabinet Secretary as it relates to attendance of permanent secretary for the different ministries. And we need to set a date for the next meeting, or do we wish to visit the department, the different correctional centers before we set the date?
yes, Chair, because that would help us in the discussion that would ensue from.
So the most important date now is the date to visit the different facilities.
That date is in relation to MNS. We may, based on what the university says, in terms of a date to set for this aborted discussion.
No, but we are not waiting on the university to set a date.
No. I understand the chairman,
right.
But I'm also saying that if the university gives us a date that is probably earlier than the one we set for this particular MNS.
So we can ask them for a room, a number of dates that would be okay with them, and then we'll choose the one that will satisfy our situation. Also, one of the things that we need to find out, is it that we'll meet here at Parliament? Parliament will provide a vehicle to take us. No, because we need to make it known to Parliament so that they can prepare, rather than on the day we. All right? So you will notify Parliament as to, once you get the date, to just notify them that we seek that they provide transportation for us. Any other matter? Any other matter arising from the minutes? Because I'm not enjoying that joke.
No, Chair, I think we're finished. We're through.
We then know, under any other business, number 8. If there is no other business to discuss, seeing that we have so many unanswered questions from the last, we will wait until we get through those. As it relates to number 9, date of the next meeting, we will now wait on the list of dates that will be given to us by the University of the West Indies, and also for the visit to the correctional centers before we set another date. So, date for the next meeting is pending. If there is no other matter at this time.
So moved, Chair.
Moved by Member Hamilton, seconded.
That's me.
Oh, Dr. Charles, seconded by Dr. Charles. Thanks for having you, madam.
Pleasure.
This meeting stands adjourned.
Member of Parliament wants highway toll